My name is Peter Smith, and my living is as a gamelan teacher and importing gamelans as well to the UK. So, a mixed economy.
Mas Pete, when did you start playing gamelan?
In 1982. So that's quite a long time ago now. I started playing when I was a first year undergraduate at the University of York.
So, who was your teacher?
Dr. Neil Sorrell.
Oh.
He did a small project on music of Java and Bali, and there was no gamelan. He was in the process of buying a gamelan, and it hadn't arrived. It was late, of course. And then we finished our project and we hadn't handed anything in, and Neil's gamelan arrived and it needed to be unpacked and it needed to be oiled and cleaned and made ready for performance, and he bribed me. I shouldn't say this on tape, should I? He bribed me. If I helped him, he would give me an extension for my essay. And by the end of the process, I was quite hooked, because this gamelan came out of this packing crate, and it's just a riot of carved wood and gold bars and gold pots, because it's all fresh new bronze. It just looked incredible. Before I even heard it, I thought it was wonderful. I don't think I ever handed the essay in. Yeah.
But you passed.
But I passed. I got a good mark. I don't know how, because I can't even remember handing an essay in. It became so delayed in the end. That was my first touch with the gamelan. That's my first brush with gamelan.
So was the look and the sounds of the gamelan?
In the actual sessions that he taught, he played us gamelan. He played us a particularly beautiful recording of the Mangkunegaran Palace. I didn't know it was the Mangkunegaran Palace at the time, but he was describing this palace and how you could hear the birds in the chandeliers of the pandopo, of the pavilion, and sure enough, you could hear amongst all these different sounds. You could hear all these swallows shooting around the pavilion, and I was very drawn to it, particularly the sound of the sinden, of the female singer. So yeah, also orally as well as visually, that's my impressions. But the actual tactile, visual impression of unpacking the gamelan, I think that's what hooked me.
And then did you carry on playing with that group, or did you go somewhere else, join?
No, I played with that group then for the rest of my time as an undergraduate. And after that, I started playing in London, and soon after I started teaching in London at the Royal Festival Hall as part of the Southbank programme. And then I studied for 3 years in STSI Surakarta, an art college in central Java, which was on a government-funded scholarship, Dharma Siswa, funded by the Indonesian government. And I was there for a long time. They let me have 3 years of scholarship, which was great. And then I returned to the UK and built up a mixed economy of teaching at different places. I teach at the Royal Festival Hall, and I've taught here on and off for 15 years. I've taught the Oxford Gamelan Society, which is my home group where I live, for longer. More than 15 years now.
So you were teaching in Oxford first before you come to London?
Exactly the same time. But London Gamelan at the Royal Festival Hall shut for 2 years. I still carried teaching in London, but not at the Festival Hall. At that time we had a squatter gamelan group at SOAS, SBGP, it was called.
Southbank.
No,
Oh.
SOAS Basement Gamelan Group. Gamelan Players.
But they were Southbank Gamelan Players.
No, they were
Oh.
just the Thursday courses that I used to teach at the Royal Festival Hall had nowhere to go, so with the help of David Hughes at SOAS, we carried on playing at SOAS for 2 years and then moved back here. I also teach as well as Oxford. I also teach at Kingston University, which I've done for more than 10 years, 11 years now. I teach at the Royal Northern College of Music. I'm their guest gamelan tutor. I teach at the University of Graz in Austria as their guest gamelan tutor. I teach for primary school children for Ealing Music Service through Kingston, through an outreach program through Kingston University. I was consultant in the setting up of the gamelan programs at Hampshire Music Service, and I've done a lot of consultancy work for setting up of gamelan programs around the country. I think I'm partly responsible for Milton Keynes Trafford Music Services, Somerset Music Services, and quite a lot of others. So, a lot of gamelan.
Wow. Could you tell us your experience teaching? You've been teaching in different places, advanced group, kids group. So if you could tell us, how do they take it when they were learning? Yeah.
That's a difficult one.
Was it easy to teach advanced, or?
I think to do a very mixed palette of teaching, if you like, a mixed experience of teaching is quite tricky, knowing what's going to work for each different groups is quite hard. Community groups are going to be different from schools groups, are going to be different from specific music university, music college, music department groups. Even with within the so-called normal educational bracket, things are quite difficult. You can't treat people doing it for love, coming in at the end of a long day's work. They're going to have a different approach and a different attitude to students who come in and are supposedly music students. So you have different scale of criteria that you apply to each different group. You should be kinder to people who are in a community group and different ways of approaching it. More interestingly as well, community groups, ongoing education allows you longer to let people get to grips with things at their own pace. Whereas music students, I find, and conservatoire students, they get rather frustrated if they go through that sort of process of everybody learning everything. They want to have a piece-based repertoire, if you like, in Japanese you'd say pakatan, to learn something where you know what you're doing in a certain piece, but not necessarily the same thing in the next piece. They want lots of pieces, whereas community groups, on the whole, like to feel that they can aspire to playing every instrument. It might take them a long time, but they like that approach. School kids, that's totally different again. Workshops are different from half-term projects, and half-term projects are different from whole-term residences. So you have to, we have an English saying, cut your cloth to fit your needs.
Did you, what kind of feedback have you received from teaching kids at school?
Teaching kids at school, it depends where it is. On the whole, it's incredibly positive, which is, I'm sure, what you want to hear, but it truly is, you know. For one thing, there is, I can't remember your cameraman's name.
Whose name? Oh, Sid.
Oh, yeah, so Sid is looking at this one, all this equipment. A school group will come into a room with a gamelan and just be hushed straight away in awe of something. So it makes life quite easy teaching a large group of people, because you have a measure of control just by the luxury factor, the exoticism factor, the overwhelming visual impact on them, physical and oral impact, and musical impact of the gamelan. But also, I found that it's very successful in that you're quite quickly able to unlock a very sophisticated musical ensemble for children who might otherwise not get a chance, not just children actually, any group, who might not get a chance to experience sophisticated ensemble music work. Quite a lot of classroom teaching and quite a lot of Western ensemble music making has to be based on a few things happening, just because our orchestral music and our instrumental music is so complex that very many people don't break through to that level of music making. To play a flute, to play a violin, to play the classic ensemble instruments is so challenging that a lot of musicians, a lot of budding musicians or potential musicians fall to wayside and don't make it to being ensemble musicians. So what you're often left with is classroom music, which are like things like recorders, things like glockenspiels at early years, or sometimes not very sophisticated choirs as well. And it's not always that choirs can hold things like harmony, which make an ensemble feel sophisticated. So for quite a lot of people, their music making experiences aren't so rewarding as they might be at ensemble level, at group making, music making level. It's fine if you're all singing one song in a school assembly, but that's not really as exciting as being part of an instrumental ensemble. And with a gamelan, very, very quickly, within an hour, you can unlock that sort of feeling of different things going on within a musical ensemble. And I think that's what most groups, and not just children, most groups get quite a rush, quite a buzz out of that. And often it reveals the musicians that haven't been revealed by the normal paths of playing instruments or singing or playing the piano. Quite often it's quite nice to get school teachers who are surprised by the fact that that one over there was very good when in class they don't shine.